while being a boss, we can express our emotions in different styles. So, can you share about the different parenting styles and different child behavior, maybe some cases or how you feel like sharing it?
Yes. Um, when I said that those words, they were in fact my feedback to a parent who, again, as you mentioned, many of us millennials parents are coming with some trauma, some attachment trauma regarding the way we have been parented. And there's a saying, an
True.
English saying, we parent the way we have been parented unless we do nothing about it. If we take for granted how we have been parented, we will make the same mistakes and we will do the same good thing. However, many of us today, that's why we called like the woke generation. We woke up and we realized that we woke up and we realized, hey, there were some mistakes, there were some things that have been done to us. Okay. And we realized that our parents used to be very controlling. This is something that we bring, that we have been controlled and we have been brought up in authoritative with an authoritative parenting style where parents were saying my way or the highway. You're not eating, you're gonna stay hungry. You're not going to school today, you're gonna miss the school bus. So these type of this type of a parenting style, and that's not something that is desirable. Many, again, I see on social media, well, I have been beaten, and look, I'm such a strong person now. It's a very common culture. We've touched that when we spoke that we come from
True.
cultures where physical correction was something normalized. It is against the law in Denmark. Um, I remember 15 years ago when I was living in the UK, you were allowed to touch your child as long as it was not visible. So we might be thinking that uncivilized countries or countries who are still undeveloped or developing countries economically might be going through a certain
Economically.
parenting style, but no, it's still happening in the Western world. Um, Now, we had authoritative. Going back to that father who was like, "Oh, I know about Montessori. Follow your child." Yes, but you're the boss. Why did I say that to him? Because from our interaction, I've noticed that he was very permissive and he was very unaware that of his parenting style. He wasn't realizing that he is the adult in that relationship. He's the one who has to be the leader. And there's an American researcher called Brené Brown, and she says, if you are a CEO of a huge company, if you are a parent, you are a leader. So you are leading. Okay? You are leading your children through life. And
Absolutely.
and again, I've mentioned the permissive parenting, where where many of us think that, well, the children can do pretty much everything, everything is allowed, there are no boundaries. And you know, I did say this to you. I do understand that this permissive parenting, because if you as a child, when you were a child, you were physically corrected, you were physically abused or emotionally abused, or maybe you had a neglectful parenting style, meaning that's another extreme. So you have authoritative and you have neglectful, where parents were so busy with their everyday life and maybe they were living through stressful situations, um, where they would forget about the children. And if you have been exposed to these two types of extreme parenting styles, you might be thinking, well, I want my best, I want the best for my child. And what will you do? Everything is allowed. Oh, you want this toy? It's yours. We're gonna buy it. Oh, what else did you say you want? This yours. We buy it. There's a lot of that in this permissive parenting, because it comes from a very deep wound that that parent has, and maybe he or she is not acknowledging it yet. So again, when we have children and we're thinking about, well, we should be thinking, sorry, we need, not we should, we need to think about, what will be my parenting style? What will I do? Will I make the same mistakes as my parents? Or will I go into the other extreme where everything is allowed? Or I have the fourth option, which is nowadays is called respectful parenting, which in fact started with Maria Montessori, with Dr. Maria Montessori, because she was the first one to see the child as unique, capable individual. Unique, capable individual. Isn't that great? And this is, it's a very hard word, authoritative. Yes, yes. Where um where we come with love and care and the high expectations that you would have from the authoritative parents. That I want the best for my children and I know they're capable and I will help them achieve that. However, I'm not gonna close the door when they're crying or send them to the naughty stairs, or they're gonna have a timeout so they toughen up. No, we show up. First of all, this is what we were saying. We show up emotionally. So all those things that you want for your child, maybe you want them to be successful financially, maybe you want them to achieve their potential, whatever that might be for you. But in order to have that, you need as a parent to fill in that love cup that many experts speak about. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, because when we used to discuss all these things with the Indian host during my podcast, a lot of people asked, this happens only in India, not in any part of the world. In India, it's only authoritative parenting or it's only neglective parenting. So we want to be permissive. But you in the other side of the world sharing that, I think it would be a great input to our audience, because human beings are same everywhere. It is just the geographical location and culture that shows a little bit of difference here and there, but at the end we are all are same, and children are always children. Thank you so much for that, Andrea. And moving forward to the next question about the ways of sharing
Mm.
love to children. How do you see that? Again, I know it would come into permissive parenting or authoritative or neglecting, but what would be an ideal way to share love with this generation of children? Where should we stop being hyper materialistic, or where should we stop being like over emotionally, being too much for them emotionally, because that is also happening. That a lot of neglected parents, I mean, neglected uh, a lot of people who had been raised with a neglective parenting style, they get too much emotional to their children, and they take all the children's emotion on them. So, like, can you share or throw some light on how to love a child?
Uh, that's a that's a lovely question. You know why? Because I'm gonna ask you, how do you love yourself?
Well, before becoming a parent, I did not have any self-love, to be honest. I had a lot of baggages and traumas from the conventional education system, from the society. Because so when I became a parent, I had a strong realization that if I don't love myself, and if I don't grow emotionally as an individual, not an adult, but as an individual, I cannot
Mm,
love my child. That was a realization I had after the birth of my child. And then when I started
mm,
giving attention to me, when I started having my me time, when I started understanding the patterns of traumatic events in my life, I understood what I lacked and what I gained out of it. And then I made a balance, and then I figured out, okay, this is giving me happiness. This makes me feel loved by myself. So I started concentrating on
mm.
more, it was a combination of a healing journey and as well as, understanding myself as an individual. So that is how
Yes,
it evolved for
yes.
me.
This is what every parent should ask themselves. How do I love myself? And then, some adults might say, well, I like to smoke. I like to drink to numb my feelings when I'm angry. Well, in my family, we never said, I love you, or we gave each other hugs. So I'm a person who doesn't like to be touched. What else? If you're a woman, maybe you have been brought up um, in an environment where if you were not dramatic, if the emotions didn't come out pouring, then there was nothing to receive, no love for you. If you were a boy, because boys and girls had and still have different treatments, you were told boys don't cry, toughen up, you're a boy. So again, you might be showing the love to your children in the same way. You might be going and saying, we toughen up, we don't cry. Um, that's why when at the beginning of this journey of parenthood, which you just mentioned, is taking the time to ask ourselves, what has been happening to me? How did I show up? How do I show up now for my children? How do I love them now? And the beauty of becoming a parent is that we have the chance to heal ourselves. It's extremely hard because most of us don't come with this secure attachment. Most of us were not loved unconditionally, but we have the chance to heal ourselves, to be the parents we never had, and to parent in the manner we would have liked to be parented. This is the hardest job an adult can do, to give in and to give out. You know, it's to be able to look after your inner child while having someone physically, another child in front of you who needs that love. So it's like filling in two cups here. This is what we're speaking. It's like giving love twice. And the reality is that probably globally we speak about 20-25% of people who have a secure attachment. That's very, very little compared to the rest. And then when you take that into
True.
parenting, that's that's hard. There's also a book called The Five Love Languages. The Five Love Languages. And I will tell you that when we become parents, we need to educate ourselves. I was a Montessori educator. Okay. I had no idea what parenting is. I was working with children. I was speaking to parents. I did not see the parents. I did not understand them until I became a parent myself. It is different. It is completely different. However,
True.
I knew a bit of theory, and that helped a lot. But when I became a parent, I realized that I have some wounds, I have some history that I have to heal, because you are objective. So when you are teaching, you don't get triggered as much, I'll say, as much as you would get triggered as a parent. Because when you become
Yeah.
a parent, all the
Parent.
wounds,
Yeah.
all the experiences, all the memories who are still in our bodies, okay, they come out. This is, I think, Gabor was saying, trauma is not what happened to you, it's how you lived with what happened to you. And it gets stored in our bodies. That's why, like I can see it in men. They get extremely angry because they were angry and frustrated while they were children, or and they internalized it in their bodies. They kept quiet, or maybe they were hit, they were bashed, and they couldn't come out, they couldn't show these emotions. And now they get easily triggered. These fathers, I would say, these fathers. On the other hand, we have what we call the mom rage. We try to be calm. Oh, we're all so calm here. We're very we feel we can do it easily, but in fact we're hiding a lot of baggage ourselves. And then we have those moments, those explosions, when I hear mothers saying, I've been yelling to my kid. Yeah, because there's a little child inside yelling as well, and no one was listening. And now guess what? Your child is yelling, you have another one yelling inside, and of course you're gonna start yelling. So I'm not really answering your question directly, because I cannot say, yes, if you want to love your child, you have to do this, this, this. If you want to love your child, start loving yourself. Start analyzing your attachment style. I will mention here one thing, that it's a far a far theory from Montessori. Playfulness. The love language for children is playfulness. Is that part of the brain who cannot decode rational messages and language? That's why, when you have a baby, you're going to start pulling like the faces, and you're going to be all chicky and all
Faces.
smiley, and you have a different energy and different vibe. And slowly, slowly, they grow up, and we're like, we forget about that. Yeah, we're not going to blow raspberries on their stomach, and we're not going to give them tickles. This is a constant. The playfulness needs to be a constant in our lives to give the love that our children need. And with the Montessori workshops that I facilitate here in Copenhagen, I always remind the parents that about the playfulness that we have as human beings. There's a book called Homo Ludens, the human who has this inner ability to learn to playfulness, to be through playfulness. And it looks at our ancestors and how they did playfulness. Yeah. So parents have this in mind. Leave the toughness, you know, drop it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Yeah.
That was so wonderful, Andrea. Though we touched a lot of, points with sharing love, I think the keyword playfulness would create a huge impact in the minds of the audience and the parents who are listening to the podcast. Thanks for that. And moving forward to the next question, the most spoken topic in Montessori toys. And I would also like you to share about your workshop, the toys you use in your workshop, and the benefits of it.
Yes. The Montessori toys is like a contradiction because Maria Montessori didn't believe in toys at her time. She said, "Well, toys are given to the child, so we can forget about the child. You know, you just give him something, throw something at him, and you will have some peace of mind." I think this is, if you would look at the modern history of the human being, this is yeah, it's a constant. So what she created were materials that stimulate children. And now the industry, the toy industry, has been catching up on that and has created educational toys, you know, toys that help children learn. Because again, families are more focused nowadays on success, academic achievements. And there's this myth that Montessori toys are linked to a high IQ. So the more we throw those at our children, guess what? The more competent they will become. They will start learning, start reading or writing much earlier. So, yes, the Montessori toys topic is very wide. And if I would suggest if I can suggest something to your listeners or to the listeners is, okay, buy toys that live long, that have a long life, that can have a long life. And now I have something here. Yes, I'm gonna tell you. Guess how old is this? Not sure if you can see it.
Is it wood
It's
or
metal.
is it plastic? It's metal, so it should be like your childhood toy.
My children's, not even my children's father. So I'm born in the 80s. This is 50 years old. It says here 1970, 55 years old. My children's father, they had this system in their family because there were many siblings, and they were passing the toys from one cousin to another. So that's something that's
Yeah.
lived 55 years. And my children in 2025 are still playing with it. Let's take a moment. Okay, let's take a moment and think about that. And you know what? I can tell you that my eldest has already decided that he wants to keep this for his babies. It comes not only that a toy that is made from a material that lasts, and wooden toys were created in it's a Montessori toy because that they had access to wood. They didn't have access to shape metal until we didn't have it probably until like 45 after the war, after the Second World War. And wood was,
Yeah.
anyone at
Yeah.
home, even my parents and my father, you always had a knife
Mm.
and you could make something with a piece of wood. So that's the
A piece of
beauty of
wood. Yeah.
wood, the fact that it can be passed down to other generations. And what Montessori was interested in was the fact that it creates a sensation. When we use it with our hands, the message from the tactile sense creates an image in the children's brain, and that image stays with the child forever. This is what she said. So I've got something here. Unfortunately, I'm not using it anymore in the Montessori workshops because I'm missing a knob. They're called puzzles. These are called puzzles. And in a Montessori classroom, we would just trace around. And this is how a child
Mm.
creates a 2D image. This is how you teach that this is a circle. So everything can be a circle, but unless we trace over, it's not a circle because that movement creates that image.
True.
If we look at it, okay, these are very simple. I would say understimulating for the world that we live in, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes. Some of the toys are really under
Yeah.
stimulating for the current
Yes,
generation of children.
because
Yeah.
I don't have anything here that I would call overstimulating. Overstimulating means batteries. That's a no. Batteries, it's a no in the Montessori world. And not even in the Montessori world, because what happened is that in the last 100 years, science has proved, and now you have researchers telling parents, do not give children toys with batteries because they become mere spectators. They just watch a show. They don't interact with the toy. And so they get
True.
overstimulated. But that learning that you think that the child is gaining because the toy is singing the ABC, there's a toy who can teach you the numbers up to 10, the colors, it's not engaging. The learning experience has to be one, it has to
True.
be like one to one. It has to go both ways.
To one, and it should be emotionally connected as
Yes,
well.
yes. So for sure, toys for children under 3, no batteries. No batteries. Slowly, slowly you can start using it. But we have so many things with batteries around us, like, I don't know, like remote
Mm.
controllers, car keys that maybe you're not using. There are so many other things. And the beauty of it, of learning, is that children are drawn to those objects, the real life objects, and not to the toys. Yes. Again, something that's Montessori based is that learning happens in isolation. What does it mean? It means that you have only sizes here, okay? You can see that I have a very small circle, a medium one, and a large circle. I don't have numbers under here. I don't have other shapes because with many Montessori toys you can find on Temu, you can find on Amazon, and you can find pretty much everywhere. They give you something wooden, like a wooden toy, where the child needs to learn everything: shapes, numbers, colors, the decimal system, everything. With Montessori materials or Montessori inspired toys, learning happens in isolation. We only focus on not one thing at a time. Yes. What Montessori has created, the system she has created, is, again, I don't have red color, yellow color, green color, one color. What I'm telling you here, it's in-depth knowledge. So maybe parents will say, "Oh my God, this is so complicated. What am I going to buy?" Oh, well, you know what? Don't buy anything yet. This is the trick. If you think it's too much for you, don't buy it. Take a moment, uh, don't be impulsive. Montessori inspired toys should be investments, should be something that we take time to process that purchase. This is what I say to my children all the time. Well, now they're in that phase where I want this, I want this, I want this. I tell them our budget is this. So we're also doing financial education with our children when we explain them how we do toy shopping. You can create a list. So I always
True.
have like some paper in my bag and a pencil where they can draw or write what they want for
Mm.
Christmas, for their birthday, for Easter from their grandparents. It deflates that energy that I want now. Okay. And when we go home, they have time to prioritize. So they're learning so many skills here because we're not being impulsive, and again, in the long term, as
Mm.
adults, they will not go and throw the money on something that gives that immediate gratification. This is a concept that it's very used these days. We're thinking on the long term. With the Montessori toy, someone said to me, do I have it here? I don't think I have here the nesting boxes. I see there's a Grimm's. There's a German brand called Grimm's, and they create beautiful
Yeah.
wooden toys. And they have some
True.
nesting boxes They're Montessori inspired. However, different colors, okay? So from the beginning, you don't know where you want to, what
Yeah.
are you teaching? There's no numbers on the boxes, but they have different colors. Again, many concepts here for the child. And there was one parent who commented below the Instagram post saying 80 euros for this toy. These are toys for the privileged families. I'm a single mom, and one part of me agreed with her. However, in the same time, if toys are investments like anything in your home, okay, because we live in this world where everything is fast, fast fashion, fast furniture. Hello, IKEA. However, IKEA, this is the day, this is grade 4 for children. Nowadays, even in the Montessori classrooms, we start having IKEA shelves. Everything is fast, fast, fast. I bought something. I bought some nesting toys. They're they are wooden. I bought them 3 years ago, but I can't tell you how many times they broke. I've been gluing them, and my kids would still like to play with it. But you know, the some toys they need to last because they're used. If you
True.
have more than one child, you're going to use them a lot. And again, when you have this philosophy at the back of your head that we're having few items, okay, Montessori inspired toys is all about having few items. Natural materials, go and bring from outside, wooden sticks, stones, everything that your child has an interest. Summer's coming, collect shelves, bring the sand inside a home. So you won't spend a lot of money. And then 80 euros might be, oh, this might be a lovely birthday present because I'm going to ask all my family members, all the guests, don't bring me that. I don't know. Do I have something around here? And don't bring me the cubic, like, this is great still, okay? Don't bring me something made of plastic. Okay, I have some more things here, like, okay, these are great, but my child would really benefit from this toy. Let's do this. So I always say to parents, create birthday lists. I have a lot of toys, everybody's bringing everything. We are flooded, we're flooded with plastic.
Yes. I cannot deny because I think after my child's second birthday, we wrote to the guests, when you are coming to us, please get us some fruits or vegetables. We are more than happy to use it. Because the total number of toys that I've bought in the last 6 years for my two children is not more than four, and everything is wood. Other than that, as you said, it'll be like pebbles or some sand or some flowers or leaves. That is what they are enjoying. And all of a sudden, some battery aided device is coming into the house. Their complete attention moves there and they are behaving like the machine. And we were like, okay, this is not going to help out. And it was good enough that the community around us were happy enough to understand that okay, they are not prioritizing on that and they are prioritizing on this. But sometimes it is hard for the people to say no to few things. But I think as parents, it is very important when it comes to toys, we have to say a strong no when we don't want something. Yeah, and it's so wonderful with the list you said. So we can just share it and people can just work it along with their budget or give it as money and we can just use it. Yeah.
One more thing, always books. In my home, I, I always say, if you do want to bring something, books. I will never say no to books, and my children love that as well. Of course, they will enter a stage in their lives where they start comparing themselves to the other children, and they see that they have, I don't know, all sort of plastic toys, and that's hard to navigate. Something one more thing I wanted
Mm,
to touch regarding the wooden toys. And I'm not sure how to say this, but I know that your audience, some of your audience who's coming from your native India, will, if they open their heart, they will understand what I'm saying. When you buy when you buy a
mm,
wooden toy, okay, why does it cost 80 euros?
mm,
And one of the answers is because it has been created in Europe, meaning that that person that has created, that has made with their own hand that toy, was paid a decent salary, a decent wage. That person doesn't have to worry about the next day. They have a contract, they have pension, they have children at home. And of course, if you want to support a business, a European business, either Romania, either Germany, either Denmark, it costs because life is expensive in Europe. However, if you go and buy something, because of course you can find, if I have anything else, yes, I have these Russian dolls, the nesting dolls. I'm not sure if you can see. If you go and buy, if you can go and buy these, and let's say they have been created in Vietnam, in India, in Pakistan, you tell me somewhere in South America on a ship coming through Europe, what take a moment and think about that person, the sufferance, because we also speak about the sufferance of a person that has to work 12 hours, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 60 hours a week or more. And you know what, something, you know what? Some some toys are made by children. I will say this. So our Christmas baubles, okay, there have been videos of children making not only garments, not only clothing,
mm,
but also toys, also Christmas decorations, you name it. So when you buy something that is so cheap, if you go back and think about that person that has created, what do you, what am I supporting? Okay. And honestly, I'm also in a huge
mm,
dilemma because it's hard to spend 80 euros on something or 50 euros. But in the same time, maybe there are other ways to purchase an item or a Montessori inspired toy or a wooden toy. There are secondhand shops, there are charity shops, and now we have all these platforms and apps like Vinted, we have Rishopper in Denmark, we have DBA, we have Facebook Market, where, you know, maybe some parents will say, I don't want this for 50 years in my family. I don't have the space. I'm just going to sell it or I'm just going to give it. So
mm,
as a parent, I
mm,
also buy from those places because if I can't purchase something at its original price, I go for cheaper somewhere else. And it's a circular economy and we
mm,
need to encourage this. We don't want to encourage as parents because we've been speaking about awareness and being aware about our parenting styles, what the toys we expose our children with. We also have to be thinking about the choices and uh, are we raising consumerists? What are we raising here? Then there are many things that we consume, especially here in the Western world, but the economy is not going to collapse if we think about the wages and the life and the working conditions of the people who create toys, and not only, yeah, this was a very heartfelt input. Thank you for listening, and thank you all for listening.
I completely agree with you, Andrea, because when we are buying some electronic toys, we don't look into the price so much. But when we buy some wooden toys or something that is sustainable, people are like, this is just wood. Why should I pay so much? The attitude of looking at natural toys has not changed a lot. People buy Montessori toys as a fashion. That is the reason why I asked you this question. Any institution that has a lot of wooden toys claim them to be a Montessori inspired institution, but what they do with the philosophy is not at all mattered. So I just want parents to wake up and understand the real Montessori environment, which is child focused and not toys focused. And as Andrea rightly put, if you are investing some money on the toy, please make sure to understand how it is made, how sustainable it is, and uh, also be ready to give it to somebody else as a donation, or as you there are also a lot of reselling platforms that are coming up in India, and there are a lot of Facebook groups that are meant for sharing these pre-loved toys. Be a part of those groups, and you can just rotate your toy so expensive doesn't get even more expensive, but it gets more sustainable in different ways. And it is also a great way to express sustainability to children. Because what we personally do is, here in the commune, Rascal Day commune where I'm living, all the libraries has a shelf in the front. So whatever toys or books you're done with, you put it there. Somebody who needs it picks it up. So when I'm picking up some books for my children, 2 books, I go leave it back and take that number of books. Toys, we just do it like that. If you like that toy, of course it should be a natural based material, because I am not into using these modern plastic electronic toys. So if you find something interesting that is sustainable, bring it. But the next day you will have to leave something from the house. You should be ready to depart with something when something is arriving. So create some space. These are all the sustainable, simple, everyday things that we could give to our children. Thank you so much for Andrea. Thank you so much, Andrea, for your time. And last but not least, I would like to suggest you some books for parents who are starting their parenthood journey, because I have seen you with a lot of books. So a couple of books from your best reads would be of great input for people.
Yes, a few books. Let's say, let's see this. So there are suggestions for learning and knowing more about Montessori, about the Montessori method. And I will always recommend The Observant Mind from Dr. Maria Montessori and The Secret of Childhood. The Secret of Childhood is it's very easy to read it. So it's enjoyable because again, these books have been written more than 100 years ago. So there's a style. Um, I have here also another lady, Paula Paul Plillard, and she wrote about the Montessori method. It's called Montessori: A Modern Approach. So Paula Paul Plillard, because it's great when you have um, writers speaking about the Montessori method. There's also Your Montessori Baby and Your Montessori Toddler. These are other names. And it helps parents understand the Montessori philosophy because they're written in a manner that is accessible. Um, yeah, when you study, it's a bit different when you study her work. It is quite academic. However, her observations were very easy to grasp, easy to understand. Um, if I would say to a parent, okay, what do I need to read? What do I need to do now that I'm a parent? Well, the first thing, as we've been exchanging ideas here, the first thing a parent needs to do is learn about his attachment style. So I did bring them here because you know what happens? I tend to forget when I have to speak. It's called, yes, Dr. Amir Levine. It's called Attached. And um, will give you great insights about attachment styles, attachment theories. At the end of the day, you need to know your attachment style. You need to know how can I stop parenting the way I have been parented. What I'm going to say to the parents is never too late. Is your child 5? It's never too late. Is your child 10? It's never too late to start learning more about yourselves, about Montessori and about who you are and how you want to give love, how you want to create boundaries, How do you want to support your child? Something that I've read recently, and it's great. I would say this is the number one book that if you would have to start with something, calm parents, happy children. Because
I've
happy
started
kids,
reading it.
great. Do you like it? How do you like it?
I've just started and it's
Yes,
so long,
it
so
it
good.
gives so tools. This is great. As you said about yourself, that you realize that you need my me moment to connect to yourself, to nourish yourself. It touches that topic of how to do that with yourself, how to do that maybe with the partner, your children's father, and then it gives you tools on how to act and how to behave, strategies on how to be with your child. So this is something that I would suggest highly to any parent. And something that I loved, getting the love you want. Yeah. So it's a book um, from the Imago theory therapists, written by them. It's great because you can never understand, and you can never give love if you cannot understand yours, and how you are giving it, how you are showing up. Um, I've mentioned this playful parenting. There's a book called Playful Parenting. I have it here. This one I read it when I was more than 10 years ago, when I was educating myself, and my observation at that time that it was a book written for older children, let's say preschoolers,
Mm.
because it gives you the tools, it gives you tips like what do they love? They love the tickles, they love hide and seek, the games that children want. If I've been going back to this book, and I can see that there are some ideas for parents of younger children.
Mm.
Something that I disliked was the fact that it had a thing with Montessori, because Montessori is misunderstood. Okay, because what and it's quite at the end. I remember that I was doing my studies, and it was quite at the end. Montessori is nothing about playfulness. It's so rigid. You know, why do Montessori? Yes, in the classroom, there's a system that works. But even the Montessori method, let's say the 3 period lesson, when I take this and I say, this is a circle, circle. What is this? So it has to, you have to be playful, you have to be creative, you have to be a bit fun to reach the child, because that's Dr. Gordon Northfield says, if you want to get to the child brains, you have to open their heart. How are you going to open the heart? Do that, don't touch that, don't do that. No, by being yourself, and by engaging to that part of ourselves that we tend to forget. What do I have here? Yes, hold on to your kids, because this is great. You agree? That's a
That's a
wonderful
wonderful
book
book.
for those who want to avoid adolescence, because adolescence has been high in the media in the last few weeks. If you want to have your children,
Yes.
we need this book. Um, this book, this author, Daniel Siegel, he's been
Mm.
the whole brain
The whole
child.
brain child.
I have another few. My brain is not helping me now. He is great because he shows you the process that goes in the brain. There's a bit of neuroscience here explained nicely and easily, and how this opens the mind to a parent to understand that the prefrontal cortex of the brain is not fully developed yet, and by having
Mm.
a regulated adult who can go with calmness, who can live life and show up, okay, with exceptions, because we don't strive for perfection. We strive to be the good enough parent. And the children need to see us vulnerable.
Mm.
They need to see us, living life the way it is. I'm not,
Yeah.
if I am frustrated, I'm going to say this to my child, this behavior of yours is starting
Yeah.
to make me frustrated. I'm going to have a little bit now because I can see that I can't do this anymore. So they will learn from this as well. They will not learn from hiding our emotions and from hiding ourselves. When we have boys and girls, there's somebody raising boys. I have boys. I have two boys, and there's also
Mm.
another Australian who writes about boys. I forgot her name. So this is Raising Boys. I have quite a few. Raising Cain. I have quite a few books for boys because, again, there's a book called Blue Brain, Pink Brain. They are they are different. They are different kids. The author wants to, she wants to create a bit of a reaction. And what do I have? There's a Danish. I'm not sure if you heard about him. Jesper Juhl. He
Uh,
he's a Danish theorist. He was a psychologist, and then he's been writing um, about children. And one of his books is called Your Competent Child, which goes, it's a link to Montessori, who always sees children competent and capable, and we need to give them that trust. We need to show them trust, again, with the boundaries that we create. I've started this book, Raising Your Spirited Child.
oh, that again is a wonderful book. Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I started reading parenting books, this was one of the first book I read.
So there's a book called the Highly Sensitive Child, and there's a book called The Highly Spirited. I have one in one. You know what? I want to mention this because do you know this one? Did you read it? You did.
Yes, I did.
I had it for 5 years. I gave it to other parents because they wanted to read this book. Extremely, extremely popular. She's also
Mm.
Jonah Faber and Julie King. They've been writing on sibling rivalry, and some other they have some other books. But it was a no. And now I realize when I finished this book this year, because when they reached the topic sleep, you know what? I need my sleep. I can't function without my sleep. So the child has to sleep in his own room. I'm going to take him back as many times I need to, but he needs to understand that you cannot come to the mummy's bedroom. And that was very sad for me because all the tools, all the um, the tricks, all her insights, they washed away because this book is telling you you need to show up for your child, you need to put yourself in your child's shoes. But when you have a baby who's 4 months, because this goes with, hand in hand with the American slip industry, child slip industry. When you put a baby to sleep in a separate room, okay, where the baby cannot smell because there's no sight. They cannot smell the parent, the mom, the breast milk, where they cannot hear anything. We use white noise, okay, machines, and I've went through that with my first one because I've been told by all the professionals that the child needs to sleep independently, and so on and so on. But how can you speak about showing up for your child and being responsive and caring when at night, when we feel the most exposed? Because if we would go back, to other mammals, nights were life and death situations because they could have, like, let's take some, I don't know, some orangutans.
Mm.
They are exposed to other hunters. So what happens to the brain, to a child's brain, is that they feel extremely exposed and unsafe. This is the word, unsafe. We create boundaries because we want safety. Also, we want safety at nighttime. And
True.
when you tell a child that you cannot be in my proximity because I need my sleep, okay, and they're still in that critical period of time when they learn empathy, when they learn emotional intelligence, it was no baby monkeys on many mammals, us in the cave, us in the cave age, we would be together physically, slept together in tents, slept together. I'm going to tell you about my experience like 35 years ago. We all slept in the same room. If it was winter, if it
True.
was cold, we had to be together. That was safe. So, and there's one drawing from a little boy, and he's being asked, when do you feel safe the most? Can you draw it? And he drew a bed, and he put mommy on one side, daddy on the other side, and he made a little face, and that was him in the middle. That's the safest time, you
Imagine.
know? And in this book, Playful Parenting, the author says, I made a habit of waking up 15 minutes earlier with my children so I can connect and have a moment in the bed and be playful and feel ourselves so I can fill in that cup of love. So I was like, now I know why I had it for 5 years, because probably I read it at the end and I was like, no, I don't have to have this.
I think with the reading books, we'll have to understand that we have to choose and take what works for us and what doesn't work for us. Just because we share a lot of recommendation, it does not mean that it works for all of us, because our lifestyle is different. We live in different geographical location. Our understanding towards
Yes.
things are different. Something that might sound good to me might not sound good to you. So there's always a disclaimer attached with recommendations. These are like these are like a pathway that you could, choose according to your style and the style of the children. Yeah. Because when we talk about our temperaments, it is also equally important to understand the temperament of our children. Just because they are from us, it doesn't mean they have to be like us.
Filter the
Yeah.
information, filter the noise, use your critical thinking as a parent. Again, maybe today they've seen us here exchanging ideas. However, I will stand very clear and very strong on the idea of boundaries, on the idea of toys, on everything that I've said here today. And I know for sure that in 10 years' time, I will still agree with what I've just said today. However, when we are parents, we have an instinct, we have the gut feeling. We have to, when we process information and when we receive advice, it has to go through our own value system. Sometimes it might be challenging because as adults, we are biased to only agree with what we want to agree. And for many parents,
Absolutely.
the information might be so nerving and so disturbing because healing journey, trauma, attachment style, physical abuse, neglect, what like these have been some of the hard words that we said today. They might not want to hear that. Maybe they're not ready, maybe you're not ready. You haven't reached that moment yet. So it might be that you either need to filter the information or you're not ready to listen, to open to the information. So yes, yes.
Yeah. That's so wonderful, and it was an amazing conversation with you, Andrea. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming here. And yeah, it was, of course, a pleasure meeting you physically and now meeting you online. Thank you so much for
Thank
that,
you, and
Andrea.
thank you to your listeners for their time.